I'm beginning by showing you a better chart of the first, second, and third octave wave. I didn't realize I had a bit more clear picture of this chart of that. And then I will read to you the things that are on the chart for the inertial line, because there's no more reading in between these pages of charts. And so here I go. Even though it hasn't shown here yet, it will. Each element is a tone. Each tone has its opposite. Two opposite tones are a unit. The fourth tone has its opposite within itself. It is a double tone. There are 4 units to each octave. There are 7 tones to each octave. And also it says on this page, in these octaves, the accumulation of energy into higher potentials causes such intense centrifugal and centripetal opposition as it reaches its maximum crest of each octave wave that additional smaller vortexes are formed, which prevent the ratio of unit increase from being totaled into the 4th tones of those octaves, as they are in carbon and silicon of the lower octaves. The result is that 10 midtones form in each of these 2 octaves, all of which are metals on the plus side and metalloids on the minus side of 4++. These midtones are irregular in all of their dimensions, but their totals added together make the constant of the double tone to which they owe their existence, and from which they subtract their separate, disorderly dimensions. Neither cobalt nor rhodium can attain their proper hardness, nor true cube form of crystallization, nor melting point, nor plane, nor valence, nor any other dimensions, because of these intruders. And 7th and 8th octave constants is what is shown on this page, showing the intruding midtones developed by intense opposition, where magnetic resistance to integration is at its maximum. Now, here we have the 4th, 5th, and 6th octave wave, and I hope that you can see these letters. Now, moving on to the chart that's on the very next page, I will read what it says in the little boxes. The first one says, this element is the tonal made of gold. Added together, they make one mid-unit constant, and it's pointing to a little box that says unknown. And the second little box says, there must be 2 unknown elements here instead of 1, and it's pointing to another little box that says unknown. And another little box says, potential energy has its limitations in this finite universe. From the first octave constant to this 9th one, the constant of energy has been accumulating exactly as the little mountain stream accumulates behind the dam until the limit of capacity is reached. Then, the exact constant of first cause in the mountain stream flows over the dam. And there's another little box that says there must be one more midtone here as a unit constant of samarium. And this whole chart is the 9th octave constant, showing more. Now we have a page with the 7th and 8th octave on them. And at the very bottom of this page it says, note, the calculation of the atomic weight of iodine or tellurium or of both appears to be incorrect. The mass of iodine must exceed that of tellurium. And then there is another chart on the very next page, and there's going to be a lot of charts now on this video. I'll read what it says on this one. The last 3 tones of the 10 octave constant are the overlapping negative reactions of the first octave. The cycle ends between 1003 plus and 1003 minus. Therefore, 1004 plus plus equals 104 plus plus, and is the end of the cosmic attempt to accumulate power and the beginning of another cycle. All effects of motion are repetitive. And at the bottom of this page it says, 10th octave cycle, no, I'm sorry, 10th octave constant, where time dimension overtakes power dimension in pressures which eject beta emanations at 186,400 miles per second. This ends the cycle. This next chart is the 9th octave, and the note at the end of this page says midtones begin in the 7th octave. In the 9th octave, the struggle to hold advancing position forces the construction of new pressure walls in many split tonal positions. In the 10th octave, there is such a multiple of split tonal pressure walls that only the conspicuous ones are herein tabulated. And then we move to the next chart, which says, all direction is curved, all motion is spiral. The law generating matter seeks higher pressures zones. And it shows the lines of this. And it says expanding centrifugal orbit of radiation and magnetic exothermal orbit. And that's the discharging. And then it says contracting centripetal orbit of generation and electric endothermal orbit, charging. And then it says contracting centripetal orbit of generation, electric orbit, endothermal, or heat absorbing. And then the next line, that's black arrow, says expanding centrifugal orbit of radiation, magnetic orbit, exothermal, or heat liberating. The law radiating matter seeks lower pressure zones. Structure of the atom. Motion begins its expression by an infinitesimally, that's a long word, infinitesimally slight overbalance electrically, and an underbalance magnetically of particles of the one substance. This creates the appearance of two forces, which move away from each other at 180 degrees, each force spirally seeking its own pressure zones. Electricity seeks itself alone against magnetic resistance. The contest between the two forces develops pressure zones of positive force, which increase in gravitative power toward the nuclear centers of disturbed areas. As centrifugal and centripetal forces increase in their opposition, the plane of spiral expansion decreases. Imagine these lines drawn on the surface of a cone into which you are looking, and you will know the lines of force of the hydrogen atom. That's Hydrogene. 1 plus. Shorten the cone gradually until these lines are as flat as a watch spring, and you then have the carbon atom 4 plus plus. The axis of the cone is the dimension of the ecliptic expansion. And furthermore on this page it says, chart number 1, evolution of force into 7 tones, 4 units, and 1 universal constant, which changes its dimension in all effects of motion, but never changes its energy constant. Well, I don't have time on this video, but on the next one, we will begin with the 10th octave.